All right. Thank everyone for joining us today. We are, I think this is our fifth Zoom live session. We are piggybacking on the governor's Healthy at Home initiative. And so we are going to have the importance of family routines at home with David. Our presentation, of course, is being provided by Dr. David Weisenhorn, our senior specialist for parenting and child development. So I'm going to turn it over to David now.
Thank you very much. Well, welcome everybody. I'm excited that everybody is here, and I'm looking forward to sharing something that right now is very pertinent in my life. I am going to guess that many of you are experiencing some disruption in those routines right now. I have two children that are on another side of my house that are busy at work, and we're trying to establish that new normal. And so what I thought would be helpful at this time is to share a little bit about the importance of family routines, identify a lot of the benefits of what those routines are, and that they don't just benefit children. I'll be speaking as if that's going to be the key piece. And right now we're having children in our homes probably that need routine. And so that's kind of pertinent in that information, but we also benefit from routines. We got to know that they help us in unstructured environments, providing some sort of structure. And they also, I hope to, at the end of this, identify some routines that you may be able to benefit from, or something that you might want to adopt in your day-to-day schedule. So hopefully there's something for everybody. Let's start with the simple question: what is a routine? We're talking about something that's a fixed program, something that we do regularly, and that doesn't happen just on special occasions, but more online with an everyday activity, something that we do daily. It's a commonplace chore, it's a task, it's a duty that we've been assigned. These are typically something that we would see in what I would call chunks. And the way that I kind of chunk things up is here. You can see when I think of routines, I think of a morning routine, I think of bed routines, maybe or a weekend, and certainly in my house, the weekend is a little different. So we've got some weekend routines. We don't have children needing to get to school in the morning. And so maybe things are a little different. We don't have a lot of schooling that has to happen. So maybe we get to do other fun activities. And so the weekend is a little different. Maybe there's an exercise routine, and maybe this exercise routine is not so much about me going Monday, Wednesday, and Friday of every week, but maybe it's what I do for my exercise. Maybe when I go to the gym, it's once I get there, now what do I do? That might be a routine as well. Sleep routines, we know, are extremely impactful and can be extremely helpful. So that's another routine where people might identify, oh yeah, that's what I do every day. This is a routine that I have. So when we talk about the purpose of routines, and I realize I'm talking to people that across the state that have routines. So I don't want to be insulting in any way, but just to really say, I don't know if you've ever thought about it, like what's the point of routine? Well, one thing that we know from science and from a lot of research is that uncertainty oftentimes heightens a level of stress and increases anxiety, which can lower our mental health or overall health. And so we want to avoid that as much as we can. And one way that we can do that is by providing structure through routine. It allows us to say, what do I need to be doing right now? What is it? What's my next step? It helps us in understanding that, right? What it offers some level of predictability. I know in my routine as someone who teaches at the university and has a lot of tasks throughout the week that are tossed at me, I know Monday morning, I'm going to grade papers every morning. That really helps me when I wake up in the morning. I know the first thing that's going to stare me in the face every Monday morning. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to grade papers. I'm going to make a video for my students. And then I get to work on the other tasks. Sometimes that helps, that those little bits of predictability can help us. I also have other events throughout my week that help me look towards the middle and the end of the week. And so it helps me kind of gauge myself as I go. It also helps us to know what's expected of us. I think of my children, when they come in that in my house each and every day, and this might be something that has adapted for you all as well. The routine is to take their book bag and drop it, or hang their book bag up, take their shoes off, hang up their coat, and then come into the house. Right now, we've added washing hands. Right, you come in, you take your shoes off, you wash your hands, and then we can have a snack. And what's nice about that routine is that we've been doing that in my house with my children for 9 years. And so as they come in, sometimes they can get all the way into the kitchen before they realize, like, oh, and I don't have to say anything to them other than, did you forget something? And so then they can look and say, oh, I forgot to take off my shoes. They know, based on that routine, what the expectation is for them when they come in the house. And so it really helps them know what the next step is, as well as how am I supposed to act in this at this juncture, at this point. Efficiency is a third piece. And what I think about efficiency, I think about my son and his tying his shoes, learning how to tie his shoes. And so tying shoes originally took him a long time, but the more he did that, the faster he gets at that. The same is true of all of us, right? As we continue throughout our day and through our routines, we get faster and better at the routine. If I asked anybody right now online, and I won't do this, but I do want you to think through this with me. What is the first thing you shower, or the first thing you wash when you get in the shower? Some people start at their head and work their way down. Some people start at their feet and work their way up. It really doesn't matter, but I promise you, you've gotten faster at it as you continue to follow your routine, and we have them. And so efficiency is built into it. And I'm going to point back to efficiency the more we, the further I share. So now that we understand what it is, the purpose of it, let's talk about some of the benefits. Consistent expectations, to me, I think is one of the most important parts of establishing a routine and the benefit of having a routine. As a parenting specialist, one of the things that I get to talk to parents about a lot is the issue of discipline, and how do we discipline. One of the biggest barriers to effective discipline is consistency, or in this case, it's inconsistency, right? So being inconsistent in our expectations of our children creates a lot of strife, and it creates a lot of misunderstood behavior. For instance, if my children, if they come in and maybe one night they've had a really good day, I've gotten good reports for their dojo session. I can see that they did great at school. Maybe I had a really good day at work. I felt like I got a lot accomplished. It's a sunny day, which is something we haven't seen in a while. But maybe all of those things align, right? The perfect, right? It's just a great day. I come home, and then after dinner, my children might say, Dad, can we please stay up? Please, can we watch a movie, or can we do this, or whatever, right? And I'm feeling good. They're feeling good. And I say, yeah, okay, that's good. Let's do that. Well, then all of a sudden, in 2 days, they ask again, and I say, oh, no, you can't do that. That inconsistency really creates some turmoil in the house. It creates this, now we've got big issues to go to. And so having some routines provides the benefit of consistent expectation, right? Bedtimes, it helps us establish when those are the healthy points of bedtime and going to bed early. So really, routines and consistency can help a parent establish healthy habits, such as regular bedtimes. We're making sure now, because they're bed at early enough time, that they're getting a lot of sleep that the CDC suggests. Maybe it's meal times, right? I think about the importance of meals in my life. And when I was a child, the mealtime was the only time that I'm one of 11 children. It was the only time that I got a time to shine. Everybody got an opportunity to go around the table and talk about their day. So meal times are really important to me. There's over 50 years of research on the benefit of eating meals regularly. And what they mean by that is only eating one meal together on a regular basis, at least weekly. And so what's nice about establishing meal times is that I realize that there are a lot of parents that maybe have erratic work schedules. Maybe there's a third shifter or something. We want to create time that most people in our family can attend it, but then that we do that regularly, so that it becomes set in our schedule, that when people say, hey, can you come over tonight? Or I was hoping we could go to the game. It starts at 5. And you can say, sorry, man, I've got a 6 o'clock meal time with my family every week. Now I say that, and then someone's going to say, well, wait a minute. So do they have to be that rigid? No, they don't. But routines are healthy and they're beneficial. And so that's why it's important to keep those routines once we establish them. So mealtime is another benefit that we get from, or having a benefit, having a mealtime. It benefits us in several ways. Like I said, there was at least 50 years, actually it's over 50 years now, of research in the Family Psychology Journal. And what you found in that is that they've created a lot more academic success, healthier, happier families that eat together. It's because a lot of times you're able to establish what is healthy. You're eating meals. The children, like if they're anything like mine, that don't want to eat greens, they have a parent that says, you know what, that's good for you. Eat at least a bite of that. Can lead to a lot of this health. And then the conversation that happens in that ability to connect. Screen time is also important, right? Especially now in our homes when we're thinking about all the ways that my children are on screens now because of school, much more. And so now I've got to be a bit more lenient in what those screen times are. But for instance, this morning we had math work and we had reading. This afternoon we also had math work and reading. One was with screens, one was without screens. And so again, just trying to limit that screen time, but being consistent in what those expectations are. So then when my children say, hey, Dad, can I get on the screen? I say, oh, no, we already did that this morning. This afternoon, no screens. Another benefit would be a time to connect, right? I think about routines that build security and connection, right? For me, it seems like the bedtime. And I realize, again, not everybody has young children. So I'm going to make this, I'll try to make this as applicable to you as it is to me right now in my family life. Right now, my children, they want a story and a song before they go to bed. And they really feel like they need that before they go to bed. And we've established that. So it's about a 30, 45 minute to an hour that I get to spend with my children each night, putting them down. As they grow at some point, and I don't know what that is, at some point, they're not going to want me to sing a song. They're going to realize Dad doesn't really have that good of a voice. And I don't want to hear that song, right? So maybe that evolves into spending time. I love this picture of the dad and the son staring up at the ceiling because they're side by side. They're not looking at each other, which is very reminiscent and actual of how boys typically spend time together or speak to one another. They're shoulder to shoulder, not eye to eye, and they're having a conversation. Right? I hope that that's what happens in that bedtime routine. As your children get over it, maybe it's just a 45 minutes before you go to bed because they're going to stay up later than you now of connecting. And so routines can evolve. That's a good thing as we go through. Last part of that would be date night, right? What an opportunity to connect. It doesn't have to be just about parent and child routines, but it can be routines that we establish in all of our relationships. A time for my wife and I to connect. If your family life is anything like mine, it's hectic, right? It's crazy. You're shuttling children from here to there. You're doing with schoolwork. You're dealing with your own work, and so you need a time to connect. And so being able to build a routine and say, hey, you know what? Every Friday night from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock, it's going to be our date night. We're going to get a babysitter. We've got her lined up. And we've done that in our house. And so we've got a regular babysitter that comes. She knows to come. And there's going to be times where she's not able to make it, but she comes regularly. So I get to look forward to that time of my wife and I spending time together. And it allows us an ability to connect. The third routine, or the third benefit that we see in that often is provided through routines is this reduced power struggle. Right? It's not about if you have power struggles with your children. It's about when you have power struggles with your children, right? Part of children's life and part of their growth and development into independence is this push towards independence, which often is a struggle. And so one thing about having a routine is that it can smooth out, it can smooth out those struggles. It can smooth those transitions from one event or one task to another task. And what I mean by that, maybe it's shifting from bedtime or from getting ready to brush teeth to bedtime, right? And so this idea in that bedtime or that evening time routine is, well, I don't want to brush my teeth. Well, okay, well, you don't get to brush your teeth. You don't get the book until you brush your teeth. This event has to happen before this event happens. And maybe that's the case if we're talking about teenagers. Maybe it's, hey, that the grass has to get cut before you can spend time with your friends, or before you get car privileges, X, Y, and Z have to happen. Or maybe it's just one thing that has to happen before these other things get to take place, before your privileges kick in. And what that does is that allows mom and dad to be removed a little bit from that power struggle. It's not me against you anymore. It's you against the routine. Hey, man, that's just the way we do things in our house. You know how we do. And so that can help. And then it allows you to blame the routines become the scapegoat. You get to say, hey, that's the routine. Hey, it's Wednesday. When my kids say, Dad, can I watch a movie? I say, what day is it? And they say, well, it's Wednesday. It's like, hey, well, we don't do screen time until the weekends. You get to watch movies and have that kind of fun on the weekends. And so a lot of times their response now, because they've heard it enough, is, oh, okay. Because the emotion has been taken out of it. That routine becomes the scapegoat. The fourth one I want to talk about is that the power that it gives children. Routines gives children power. And I would say in some ways it gives adults power, especially if we work in an organization that our routines aren't so identified. And what I mean by that is it allows that child to take charge of the activities. So I'll go back to a routine that I mentioned earlier. My children get up. We have a morning time routine. I wake them up in the morning. My wife or I will wake them up in the morning. And as they get up, they've got 30 minutes, 45 minutes to do the following. They got to wake up, they got to get dressed, they got to brush their teeth, they have to eat breakfast, and they've got to pack their book bag, right? That's what they have to do every single morning. Now, I don't care in what order those tasks take place. And so that is where children become this, they get to take that power, and they become masters of their own world. They become competent, and they learn those mastery skills of, okay, I'm going to dress myself. Maybe I get dressed before I eat breakfast. Maybe I'm going to put my shoes on before I have a book bag. Maybe I'm going to brush my teeth right after I have a book bag. It doesn't matter. They get to orchestrate that. You give them some opportunity. And they can gain mastery in that. And then that no longer has to become a set routine. Maybe that gets to be loosened up a little bit on those. And so this really allows children power and reduces those power struggles. The last point that I'll make here would be to reduce stress, right? This is key, right? It helps us, again, to get a little bit of certainty in and throughout our day. It allows us to know what to expect, right? I know that I've got to grade papers first thing on Monday. After that, I'm not so certain, but I got one thing I know that is going to happen. It also mitigates forgetfulness, right? When we think about having a routine, it eliminates this idea of where things happening. This is something I'm trying to instill in my children. I come in each and every day, and as I walk in the door, I hang my keys on the right. I put my wallet somewhere and my phone somewhere together. They go on the same table that I know exactly where they are. My coat gets hung up in the same place, and my work bag gets placed somewhere. That way, in the morning when I get up, I know exactly where I have to go. I'm less likely to forget my keys or forget where my wallet or my phone is when I've got a routine. And that may be the same as taking medication or vitamins, or maybe one event throughout the day. As long as I've got things set up, again, it goes back to building that efficiency. When we talked about meals earlier, some stress reduction can be stressful in our house for a while was this idea of meal preparation. What are we going to eat tonight? What are we going to do? to be able to set a routine. You know, I talked about that Friday night is a date night. That's also pizza night. Why? Because my wife and I don't eat that. We go out on our date. We eat whatever we want, but the kids get to eat pizza every week. They love it. It helps us with the efficiency of our grocery bill, or our grocery list. We now know at least every week we're going to get a couple pizzas for the kids to eat, right? So we know that's going to be part of our grocery plan. If you're like me, my breakfast is the same every morning. So I no longer have to fret about when I wake up, what am I going to eat this morning? Hey, I eat yogurt, banana, blueberries, and crushed almonds on top every single morning. The blueberries don't have to be in season because you can get those frozen. I'm plugging a lot of my colleagues there. So that's, those are some jokes, but that is real. Those are my routines, and they can be beneficial because now my efficiency is sped up. I'm not wasting time in the morning trying to figure out, what am I going to eat today? I know exactly what I'm going to eat. It also I need to buy for at least those meals. And it keeps me from getting something important and healthy in my diet because now I know what those are. When it talks about the reducing stress, we also know that increases our mental health, right? When we are able, I started this whole webinar today talking about when we know what is expected of us, when we have some certainty in the day, then that reduces our stress, which overall reduces our anxiety. And so we know that that regular routines such as sleep, right? Sleep routines and meal routines can help us reduce and protect against mental illness and other stressors such as depression and anxiety. All right, so here we are getting ready to wrap this up. What are some possible routines that you might want to go to, and some things that I might have you just think about throughout your day? Are there morning or evening? Do I need to reestablish when do I wake up? When do I go to bed? Maybe I don't want those things in my life, and so maybe that's not an area. Maybe it's adding exercise. Or maybe it's like, David, it's not that I don't have time in my week that I like to exercise. I just don't know what to do. And so maybe that routine there in figuring that out. Maybe it's adding more times to meditate, to think, to spend time by ourselves. Right now, given the situation that we may all be cooped up in our homes with our children, having a lot of concern, maybe this incorporation of a meditation routine each and every day or a couple of days throughout the week could be very beneficial. Meal routines, I think, again, just establishing times that work for everybody, helping to identify what those meals for the day or maybe one meal throughout the week are, again, helping with efficiency and moving on. And then, of course, hygiene routines, you understand all of that. So one of the ways that I thought would be helpful is a colleague of mine, Kelly May, came up with a really great family scheduler, and I want to have this on there. So I wanted to put this on there because I thought this would be really important as far as allowing you all where you can now see or fill out your family scheduler. So just being able to say what day are we doing what, and I can show you a little bit about what mine looks like. So this morning, I thought I had one. Hold on a second. Oh, here we go. This morning, I got up, and the thing that I wrote on here, and what you may or not be able to see, is that each time, so I've got the wake up. We woke up this morning from 8 to 8:30. We did a yoga and a stretch. From 8:30 to 9:15, we did wonders readings. So my children were able to go through each day and get the activities that they needed throughout the day to pin down here. Now, what's realistic is it doesn't always work just like this. And so again, one of the things that's important with family routines is just trying to stay flexible as you can. So I'm getting quite a bit of text messages now, and so I will look to those. Right. I think at this point I've said and shared what I had to share, but I want to open it up if there are other questions.
David, this is Sally, and you have a question here on Zoom. Is this family schedule planner going to be posted online, or how can people get this to print off?
Yeah, that's a really good point. We have that is probably a Mindy's question. I believe yes. I think it's ready to go. I'm happy to send that out. Mindy, do you know? Do we have a copy of this that's ready to go?
Yes, and we will be posting it on our COVID response page. And for those of you who are watching from outside of Kentucky, if you want to just send me an email at mindy.mccully@uky.edu, then I will make sure to get that to you.
Mindy, can you put your email in the chat boxes for everyone?
Yes, I will do that.
So I see, I got a text question that says, any suggestions for teens who had a routine but need to adjust to a new routine, but they don't want to help? It definitely sounds like a teenager. And you know what? It's a good question. A lot of times they don't want our help, but they absolutely need our help. And so being able to try and provide some suggestion, and maybe that's not the case. Maybe what a parent's role at this point is to say, you know what, I'm curious, have you come up with a new routine? What's your new routine going to be? Instead of asking if they have one and allowing them to suggest, what is your new routine? What's your new routine going to be? And leave it that way and allow them to provide that solution. I think if we can try and present that as a solution, as a problem that they have that they'll need to provide solution for, and just as a parental way of just saying, hey, I'd really like to know what your new routine is because I've got to adjust mine for work. And so instead of trying to get into that struggle of you've got to do this or you need to do what I tell you to do, maybe asking them now to be a little more responsible and saying, hey, because I need to set a new routine, I need to know what your new routine is, and possibly working it that way. I'm going to look through, I got some more, I think I got some more text here with other questions. Yeah. Okay. So, and this is a good question. So they have a very small child, and the question is, I agree, making those extra meals and snacks takes so much time. I know my child can't really take or talk back yet when he asks for a snack, but it isn't snack time right now. These are struggle times. And I only know because I feel like I just had these times yesterday. Those are the struggles. Those are the struggles of creating new routines and that back and forth. And I think simply, again, just like as if they're asking for TV time during Wednesday, and that's not what we do. You can just say, when snack time comes, you'll get a snack. When every time, you just feel like now when you're home, everybody wants to eat all the time. Just being able to say, oh, not yet. Here, we've got something else. And then with young children, it seems to always be a distraction, right? Having to distract them into something else and trying to have them leave their mind. The reality is we might have to do that several times initially before the routine becomes part of what they understand. So good question on that. I hope that was a helpful response. I'm going to look, hold on. I think I had some more. Do you see any other, Sally, that you have?
No, we do not have any others on the Zoom, but if, wait just a second, another one came in, sorry. In the age of video games, I have really connected with my children through classic board games. My children are now 29 and 30, but they still ask for board game night. Dominoes is also another favorite. So pulling out those board games sounds like it is a perfect time, because a lot of kids may not even know what they have in their closets and basements.
And that, I mean, and I think it's wonderful. I appreciate that comment, because I think that's what we're going to have to do, especially parents that have teenage children or young 20s that are home from college, right? Because that's also happening a lot. If they haven't moved out completely and they've been staying on campus, and now they're coming home, to be able to say, what are we going to do? And go back, hey, pull out that Uno deck, right? Uno, I don't know why Uno is so fun, but it is. Or right, left, center. We play that too. Yahtzee. I mean, anything that can really be fun. And I just want to encourage you that a lot of this time we're getting able to spend with our children can be really precious time. The fact that these college students are home, that can just give you another opportunity to spend more time with them. And I know that that's not always quality or happy time, but it is meaningful time. And that's really important. So yeah, pulling out those board games, great idea. Let's see if I've got anything else.
David, do you want to address about where kids can play some of those things with maybe grandparents through FaceTime? I've seen some of that going on where if the grandparents have some sort of game that they can do that, just a little more interaction than just saying, here, talk to your grandparents. Because if they're really young, they may not know what to say.
Oh, that's a really good point. We had this, so and my children are, just so everyone knows, I've got a 9-year-old daughter and a 7-year-old son. So really kind of learning the social etiquette of using a phone and learning that conversation. We FaceTimed Ellen, my wife's parents, last night, and we're trying to do some of that. And I think, Sally, what you suggested is a great suggestion, because it is it's hard because grandparents want to have an interaction with children. However, if children are young enough and they don't know how to interact through social media or through media, then it becomes they don't want to talk. And so it can have that feeling of being off put, or your children are ignoring your parents, and you don't want that. So yes, I think having an activity that they can do. Ellen's, my wife's parents, called and they read a bedtime story. They call it the time of bedtime. And so they read a bedtime story. We just put the phone in the bed and they were able to read to them. So that can be a really good way. And I think, yeah, maybe you play checkers, or maybe there's tic-tac-toe, some really simple things, or rock, paper, scissors, games that they can play via media that can have that interactive feel and can create that connection as well.
We also have 2 comments on here about playing charades. That can be at any age. You can make that fun for everybody.
Absolutely, yeah. Charades are a lot of fun, and children understand charades. So that's a really good one. I'm checking here as well, so I apologize. I'm looking down. I'm checking the texts as well. I think they've slowed down. I think I've gotten all of them. I want to, oh no, I've got some bubbles here. So maybe somebody's texting in. Yes, it was interesting. There was a good comment about children not being hungry at convenient times, and that is definitely true. And I think sometimes when we are fixing meals and they're not hungry, I think it's wise to not enter into that back and forth. Yes, you have to eat right now. The simple response can be, that's fine. When you're ready for it, it's here. Letting them know that this meal is not going to change because you want something different, or letting them know that it'll have to be the condition that it's in when you're ready to eat it, because I'm done cooking it or preparing it. So if it was a hot meal and maybe it's cold, then maybe they'll need to warm it up, or they'll have to just eat it the way that it is. And that's important. As cruel as that may sound, that's really important, so that children understand that mom and dad aren't just going to run around and serve them whenever they want. And that'll help you as you begin to set those routines later. They'll know what that expectation is. So that's a really good question. So I have one here. It says, is there something else? Okay. It says, my college son is struggling with all, sorry, let me get that back up. Struggling with all this extra time, finding purpose. Also, he's living independent and now is living with his parents and younger siblings. That can definitely be a struggle, right? Having a lot of extra time on his hands. And I think, again, this sounds like a college age student. This is a young adult that is in that stage of importance of creating their own purpose in what they're going to do, their own day-to-day activities. And so again, I think a good time or a good way to present that to college students and young adults is saying, okay, how are you going to structure your day now? What are the things that you can do? And offering some suggestions, and even, offering this template. While it seems very rudimentary, like David, it's just times on a page with a slot next to it. But that really helps young people, I think, young professionals, old professionals, it doesn't really matter the age. It helps us understand what the structure of the day is. And wow, okay, I really need to probably pin down hour by hour here of what my day is going to look like so that I can get all the things that need to be done in one day. So I think maybe even offering this to college students can be effective. All right, I think that's all I've gotten on my text, all the text that I've gotten. Did I miss anybody or anything?
Just a couple more suggestions, but I think these have already been talked about. But you could have older siblings read to younger siblings. So that's another good one. And then just another comment about that kids are really enjoying pulling out the board games, that they've got time to do that. So.
Well, good. Well,
another thing I will just say, and this is not anything about the games, but another talking about routine and where you put things. I did see where one mom of 3 kids had them to put their cups back in the same place in the kitchen every day because she was not going to wash 50 cups at the end of the day. And I really hadn't thought about that until I saw that on Facebook. But that's a really good routine, because if they're old enough, they can rinse it out, set it back, and then they're going to use that all day. And that's one I'm sure you could talk about having your kids at home too.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny. I'm literally laughing over here because I just told them that as we got a morning snack, they all wanted something to drink. And I said, okay, we got the drinks. And then they were putting their cups in the sink. And I said, whoa, go put that at your table. Go put that at the spot at the table where you eat so that you know which one's yours. And then each time you want something to drink, you just go and get your cup, and that's where it'll be. For that very same reason, you realize that, wow, this dishwasher is just going to run all day if we don't get these dishes, if we don't slow these dishes down a little bit. So yeah, that's a very valid point. And that can be a part of the routine, is even things as small as just the drinkware and cutlery that you're using.
All right, David, I think that we are ready to wrap up. I really appreciate everyone who has joined us today. We have had some lively discussion, and I think we've learned a lot. So if you, once again, if you have any questions and you are here in Kentucky, we encourage you to reach out to your local extension office via their Facebook page or their email accounts, as they are still working and they are happy to help you with additional questions. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you all.
Family and Consumer Sciences Extension at the University of Kentucky. Our agents share research knowledge with individuals, families, and communities to improve quality of life. Building strong families, building Kentucky. It starts with us.